High Admiral Zextal stood before the Grand Council of the Vexery Empire, his iridescent scales gleaming under the chamber's crystalline lights. The massive holographic display behind him showed detailed scans of a blue-green planet that the natives called Earth. His voice, carefully modulated to project confidence, echoed through the chamber. Distinguished council members, our surveillance of Solar System 7249 is complete. The dominant species, self-named humans, present an unusually appetizing opportunity for expansion. Zextal's secondary wings fluttered with barely contained excitement. They possess no unified planetary defense system, no energy weapons, and their spacecraft are primitive at best. The council members chittered among themselves, their jeweled ceremonial mantles catching the light. Supreme Counselor Versha raised a clawed appendage for silence. Explain their threat assessment, Admiral. Surely any species capable of reaching their moon must have some defensive capabilities. Zextal allowed himself a small gesture of dismissal. Their achievements are quaint. They reached their moon using chemical propulsion, and their most advanced weapons still rely on projectiles and chemical explosives. More telling is their cultural disposition. They maintain thousands of separate nation-states, each with its own military. They waste resources on entertainment and art rather than defense technology. The holoscreen shifted to display human cities, sprawling metropolises with no energy shields, no orbital defenses, not even basic atmospheric barriers. Most revealing is their response to potential threats. When their astronomers detect unusual phenomena, they broadcast the information openly. When they encounter unknown objects, they send greeting messages. They believe in peaceful first contact. He pronounced the phrase with careful disdain. Versha's scales shifted to a thoughtful shade of blue. Yet they survive. No predator species has claimed them. That's the most fascinating part, Zextal replied, bringing up new images. Their planet lies in an unremarkable sector. No major powers have found them worth the effort of conquest. They've developed in isolation, growing soft and complacent. Their entertainment media imagines alien invasions, yet they've taken no serious steps to prevent one. The council chamber filled with amused trills. High Commander Yxtral, leader of the military faction, spoke next. What resources do they offer? Zextal's scales rippled with pleasure. Beyond the obvious biological resources of 8 billion potential slaves, their planet is rich in rare minerals and water. But there's something even more valuable. Their psychological profile. Humans are extraordinarily adaptable laborers. They can work in almost any environment, learn complex tasks quickly, and demonstrate remarkable endurance. Once properly subjugated, they would make ideal workers for our more challenging operations. The holoscreen displayed humans working in various conditions: desert oil fields, underwater construction, high-altitude mining. They already willingly perform dangerous labor for mere currency. Imagine their productivity under proper motivation. Versha raised her ceremonial staff, its crystals pulsing with authority. Your proposal, Admiral? A standard three-phase conquest, Supreme Counselor. Phase 1. Simultaneous strike at their primary military installations and government centers. Phase 2. Systematic population control through our proven compliance methods. Phase 3. Resource extraction and slave processing. Zextal's scales shifted to confident gold. With their limited technology and divided political structure, I estimate complete planetary control within one stellar cycle. The council members exchanged glances, their scales shifting through shades of consideration. Versha spoke again. Your confidence is noted, Admiral. But I sense something else. What are you telling us? Zextal's scales rippled briefly with embarrassment. There is one anomaly in our surveillance data. Over the past Earth year, we've detected unusual patterns in human population movements. Small but significant numbers of humans have been relocating away from major cities. Some of our sensors have also picked up increased activity in underground structures. However, he hurried to add, we believe this is simply their primitive attempt at urban expansion. You're sure? Versha's scales edged towards skeptical purple. Absolutely, Supreme Counselor. These are creatures who still waste resources on entertainment and leisure. Their leaders openly broadcast their military strategies and weaknesses. They're practically begging to be conquered. They just don't know it yet. The council chambers fell silent as Versha rose to her full height. Very well, Admiral Zextal. You have the council's authorization to proceed with the conquest of Earth. Assemble your fleet. And Admiral. Her scales shifted to warning red. Do not let your contempt for their peaceful nature blind you. Even prey animals can surprise a careless predator. Zextal bowed deeply, his scales bright with triumph. Thank you, Supreme Counselor. I assure you, this will be the easiest conquest in Vexary history. As he left the council chamber, Zextal was already planning his victory celebration. After all, what could a species that valued peace possibly do against the might of the Vexary Empire? In the depths of Earth's Pacific Ocean, in a location carefully shielded from orbital detection, Dr. Sarah Chen stared at a computer screen showing unusual patterns in deep space signals. Behind her, General Michael Rodriguez studied a massive holographic display of their own, showing the positions of thousands of civilian evacuation groups, military assets, and underground facilities. Neither of them smiled. They had been preparing for this moment for longer than the Vexary could imagine. The real question wasn't whether humanity could fight back. The question was, how long should they let the Vexary believe they were winning? Admiral Zextal's command center aboard the Vexary flagship, Eternal Dominion, hummed with activity. Holographic displays showed thousands of invasion ships entering Earth's atmosphere simultaneously. The initial strike had gone perfectly. Their stealth technology had allowed them to position their entire fleet without detection. Victory was assured. First wave approaching primary military targets, reported Commander Kelvin, her scales shimmering with anticipation. No resistance detected. Their primitive radar systems haven't even noticed us yet. Zextal watched with satisfaction as the first wave of ships descended toward Earth's major military installations. The humans' quaint nuclear weapons and aircraft carriers would be reduced to ash before they could even react. His scales rippled with pleasure at the thought of how this swift victory would advance his standing in the Empire. Sir, Kelvin's scales suddenly flushed with confusion. Something's wrong. The human military bases, they're empty. Empty? Zextal's scales shifted to alarmed orange. Impossible. Check your sensors. Confirmed, sir. No personnel, no aircraft, no vehicles. Even their weapons are gone. The buildings are just shells. Before Zextal could respond, another officer called out. Sir, similar reports from all primary targets. The human government's buildings are evacuated. Their naval fleets are missing. Their nuclear weapons facilities are completely stripped. Zextal's scales rippled with growing unease. Launch the second wave. Target their population centers. They can't have evacuated entire cities. The second wave of ships descended toward Earth's major cities. Zextal watched the feeds with mounting disbelief. The mighty New York silent. Beijing deserted. London abandoned. Everywhere, they found the same thing. Empty buildings, inactive power grids, and not a human in sight. How? Zextal's voice cracked with frustration. 8 billion humans don't just disappear. Where are they hiding? In the depths of the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Sarah Chun smiled as she watched the Vexary invasion forces' confusion through their own compromised surveillance systems. The quantum encryption they thought unbreakable had been child's play for Earth's AI systems, developed in secret over the past decade. Operation Ghost Town is proceeding as planned, she reported to General Rodriguez, who stood before a vast underground command center. Hundreds of officers coordinated with thousands of hidden bunkers and facilities across the globe, all connected through quantum-entangled communications that were invisible to Vexary detection. How long before they find the first decoy facility? Rodriguez asked, watching the movements of Vexary search parties on the global tactical display. Right about now. Above ground, a Vexary search team discovered their first underground human facility. Commander YXREL led her troops into what appeared to be a hastily abandoned bunker. They found living quarters, supplies, and clear signs of recent human activity. Report to command. YXREL ordered triumphantly. We found one of their hiding places. 3 hours later, after thoroughly documenting the facility, YXREL's team returned to their ship. None of them noticed the microscopic nanobots that had attached to their scales, broadcasting their every movement back to human intelligence. "Sir," Kelvin called out on the Eternal Dominion's bridge. "We found hundreds of underground facilities. The humans must have tried to hide their population in subterranean shelters." Zextal's scales brightened. "Finally, launch planetary bombardment on all discovered locations. We'll flush them out or bury them alive." The Vexari fleet unleashed its mighty weapons. Energy beams and plasma torpedoes struck the discovered facilities with devastating force. When the dust settled, they found nothing. No bodies. No screaming crowds of humans trying to escape. Just empty tunnels and abandoned equipment. Admiral Kelvin's scales had turned pale gray with worry. "We've analyzed the facilities. They're not recent constructions. The wear patterns, the dust distribution, these places were built and abandoned months ago. They're decoys." Zextal's scales flushed deep red with rage. "Impossible. Our surveillance showed human activity here just days ago." In her underground command center, Dr. Chin watched the Vexari fleet's increasing desperation with satisfaction. "They still haven't figured it out," she reported to General Rodriguez. "They don't realize those recent signs of human activity were created by our maintenance drones." Rodriguez nodded grimly. "And the real shelters? The quantum camouflage is holding. They can't detect anything below 2 kilometers depth. 3 billion people, safe and sound in the deep shelters. Another 2 billion in the underwater cities. The rest distributed among the asteroid belt facilities and lunar bases. And the Vexari still think we're primitive? They haven't even begun to suspect. They're still looking for traditional bunkers and cave systems. They have no idea we've been hollowing out the Earth's crust for the past 15 years, ever since we first detected their probe ships." On the Eternal Dominion's bridge, Zextal faced a growing crisis. Half his invasion force was tied up searching empty cities and fake bunkers. His superiors were demanding answers. And somewhere on this insufferable planet, 8 billion humans were hiding, somehow shielded from the Empire's most advanced detection systems. "Find them," he raged at his officers. "I don't care what it takes. Find these primitive savages and show them the price of defying the Vexari Empire." Deep underground, humanity waited. Their quantum computers analyzed every Vexari transmission. Their AI systems probed for weaknesses in Vexari technology. Their scientists refined the hybrid weapons they'd been developing. And in countless hidden facilities, human soldiers trained with technology the Vexari didn't even know was possible. The invasion hadn't failed yet. But Phase 2 was about to begin, and the Vexari were about to learn why underestimating humanity was the biggest mistake they'd ever made. 2 kilometers beneath the Pacific Ocean floor, New Pacific City hummed with activity. Through quantum-reinforced transparent aluminum walls, Dr. Sarah Chin watched schools of engineered bioluminescent fish swimming through the artificial reef systems that helped conceal the city from orbital detection. The city itself was a marvel of human engineering, a sprawling metropolis housing millions, powered by geothermal energy and protected by layers of technology that the Vexari would consider impossible for primitive humans. "They're getting desperate," she reported to the Global Defense Council, gesturing at the holographic display showing Vexari fleet movements. "They've been searching for 3 weeks, and they still can't find a single population center." General Rodriguez, now sporting gray at his temples from weeks of constant strategic planning, nodded. "Their ground forces are spreading thin. They're trying to search every cave system, every abandoned mine, every subway tunnel. Just as we planned." The council chamber was carved directly from the bedrock, reinforced with carbon nanotubes and protected by quantum shield generators. Around the table sat the leaders of humanity's hidden resistance, politicians, scientists, and military commanders who had spent years preparing for this moment. "The Vexari intercepted another of our resistance broadcasts," reported Colonel Zhang, head of information warfare. "They're completely convinced that scattered groups of humans are hiding in natural cave systems. The decoy guerrilla attacks are keeping them focused on the surface." Dr. Chin pulled up new data streams. Our nanobots have now infected 60% of their ground forces. Every time they investigate one of our decoy facilities, they pick up more. We're getting real-time data on their movements, communications, and technology. And they still haven't detected the quantum signatures, asked Dr. Patel, lead scientist of Project Oracle. They don't even know what to look for, Chin replied with a slight smile. They're so convinced of their technological superiority that they're not even considering the possibility that we've developed completely different scientific paradigms. The display shifted to show the Vexery command ship. Admiral Zextal was visible, his scales a constant flux of frustrated colors as he berated his officers. The quantum tap into their communications provided both audio and visual. The humans must have help. Zextal was raging. No primitive species could evade our sensors like this. Search for signs of Arcturian technology, Zenith Empire quantum signatures, anything. Speaking of quantum signatures, Rodriguez turned to Dr. Patel. How's Project Oracle progressing? Dr. Patel's eyes lit up. The quantum AI is exceeding expectations. It's already decoded 90% of Vexery technology. More importantly, it's identified several fundamental flaws in their understanding of quantum mechanics. They never developed quantum entanglement computing because they focused entirely on subspace technology. Which means, prompted one of the civilian leaders. Which means, Chin interjected, that they can't detect our quantum communications, can't track our quantum-shielded facilities, and have no defense against our quantum-based weapons. They're still trying to find us with subspace sensors and gravitometric arrays. Rodriguez stood, drawing attention to the larger strategic display. Then it's time for Phase 3. Dr. Chin, are the hybrid weapons ready? Ready and distributed to all resistance cells. The Vexery won't know what hit them. Literally, their sensors can't even detect the quantum phase rifles. And the bait? Colonel Zheng grinned. Ready to deploy. We've prepared dozens of resistance camps with just enough primitive technology to draw them in. Each one is stocked with outdated weapons and equipment that will reinforce their belief in our technological inferiority. What about civilian morale? Asked one of the political leaders. Dr. Chin pulled up statistics from the underground cities. Holding strong. The entertainment districts and education centers are keeping people occupied. The vertical farms are producing at 120% capacity. The quantum internet is maintaining global communication. Most importantly, our people understand the strategy. Let the Vexery exhaust themselves searching while we prepare our counterstrike. In the background, the holographic display showed Vexery ships continuing their fruitless search patterns. They were now bombing random mountains, hoping to collapse cave systems and force humans to the surface. Their frustration was evident in their increasingly erratic tactics. Very well, Rodriguez straightened his uniform. Initiate Phase 3. Colonel Zhang, activate the resistance cells. Dr. Patel, bring the quantum weapons online. Dr. Chin, prepare the AI systems for cyber warfare. And the Vexery's new search pattern? Asked Chin, highlighting a cluster of ships moving toward Australia. Rodriguez allowed himself a small smile. Let them search. They're looking for frightened primitives hiding in caves. They'll never expect an advanced civilization right under their feet. As the council dispersed to their duties, Dr. Chin remained for a moment, watching the Vexery ships through the quantum feeds. They were so certain of their superiority, so convinced of humanity's weakness. They had no idea they were playing directly into humanity's hands. In his command ship, Admiral Zextal was about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating primitive species. The only question was whether his empire would survive the education. Admiral Zextal's scales had lost their luster after a month of fruitless searching. His once pristine command center now displayed countless tactical overlays of failed search patterns and abandoned search zones. The Eternal Dominion's crew worked in tense silence, fear radiating from their dulled scales. Sir, Commander Kelvin approached cautiously. We've lost contact with Search Group 7. Zextal's scales flickered with irritation. Another equipment malfunction? No, sir. Complete silence. All 40 ships, gone dark simultaneously. Before Zextal could respond, another officer called out. Sir, Search Group 12 reporting unusual energy readings in the Pacific sector. They say it's like nothing in our database. Search Group 3 has gone dark. Anomalous readings spreading across the Australian quadrant. Sir, we're detecting something rising from the ocean floor. In the quantum-shielded command center of New Pacific City, Dr. Sarah Chen watched multiple holographic displays tracking the Vexery fleet's confusion. All quantum phase weaponry is online, she reported. Hybrid defense systems are functioning at optimal levels. The AI predictions show a 98% success rate for Phase 3. General Rodriguez nodded grimly. Launch the Pacific Fleet. Beneath the Pacific Ocean, massive sections of the seafloor began to shift. What the Vexery had dismissed as natural oceanic trenches split open, revealing vast hangars containing humanity's hidden navy. Ships rose from the depths, vessels that combined stolen Vexery technology with human innovation and quantum engineering. On the Eternal Dominion's bridge, Zextal watched in horror as his sensor displays filled with thousands of unknown vessels. They seemed to materialize from nowhere, appearing in patterns that defied Vexery detection systems. Impossible, he whispered, his scales pale with shock. Their technology, they couldn't have. Sir, Kelvin's voice cracked with panic. The human vessels, they're using some kind of hybrid technology. Our shields aren't, they're passing right through. Throughout Earth's orbit, Vexery ships began to fall silent. The quantum phase weapons passed through their supposedly impenetrable shields as if they weren't there. Crews found their advanced systems failing as quantum viruses, transmitted through the nanobots they'd unknowingly collected, shut down ship after ship. In New Pacific City, Dr. Patel monitored the quantum AI's battlefield predictions. The Vexery are attempting to adapt their shields, he reported. But they're still trying to modify subspace frequencies. They don't understand they're facing an entirely different form of technology. Show me the Australian theater, Rodriguez commanded. The holographic display shifted to show the Australian outback, where more surprises awaited the Vexery ground forces. What they had dismissed as primitive resistance fighters emerged from hidden bunkers wearing powered armor that could phase through solid matter. Quantum rifles fired shots that ignored Vexery energy shields completely. Sir, another Vexery officer called out. Ground forces are reporting. The humans are walking through walls. They're appearing inside our secure facilities. Zextal watched his invasion force crumbling. The supposedly primitive humans were using technology that seemed to break the laws of physics themselves. His ships were being disabled without any sign of traditional weapon impacts. His ground forces were being systematically isolated and contained by enemies they couldn't even detect properly. In a hidden facility beneath the Himalayas, Dr. Chen met with the quantum AI's primary interface. The artificial intelligence, operating on principles the Vexery hadn't even theorized, had predicted this exact scenario. Their tactical responses align with our predictions, the AI reported, its quantum processors analyzing the battle in real time. They're attempting to counter our technology using their understanding of physics. This will fail. Chen watched as another display showed Vexery ships attempting to escape Earth's orbit. They're starting to retreat. As predicted, the AI confirmed. Their psychological profile indicates they will attempt to regroup and return with a larger force. They still don't understand, do they? Chen mused. They think this is just advanced technology they haven't seen before. They haven't realized we've developed an entirely new branch of physics while pretending to be primitive. Rodriguez's voice came through the quantum comm. Dr. Chen, status report on the Vexery command ship. The quantum viruses have full control of their systems. We can shut them down whenever you give the word. Not yet. Let's see if Admiral Zextal makes the right choice. On the Eternal Dominion's bridge, Zextal faced the greatest crisis of his career. His invasion force was in ruins, disabled by weapons he couldn't understand, facing an enemy that seemed to ignore physical laws themselves. Sir, Kelvin's scales were almost white with fear. We're receiving a transmission. From the humans. Zextal's scales rippled with dread. Put it through. The holographic display showed a human female in what appeared to be a military uniform, but unlike anything they'd seen in their surveillance. Behind her, displays showed real-time data about every Vexery ship, including the Eternal Dominion itself. Admiral Zextal, Dr. Chen spoke calmly. I believe it's time we had a discussion about the true technological capabilities of humanity and the future of Vexary-human relations. Zextal's scales shifted to a shade of blue that few Vexary had ever displayed, the color of absolute defeat. The quantum-secured conference room materialized aboard the Eternal Dominion, catching the Vexary officers completely off guard. One moment they were on their bridge, the next they stood in a space that seemed to exist somewhere between dimensions. Dr. Chen sat calmly at one end of a sleek conference table, while General Rodriguez stood at attention behind her. Admiral Zextal's scales shifted rapidly through patterns of confusion and fear. How? What is this technology? Please sit, Chen gestured to the chairs. We have much to discuss about your assumptions regarding humanity's capabilities. As the Vexary officers cautiously took their seats, holographic displays materialized around them, showing the current state of their invasion fleet. Ships hung disabled in orbit, their crews contained by quantum fields they couldn't even detect. Ground forces stood frozen in mid-action, caught in temporal stasis fields. Your entire invasion force has been neutralized, Rodriguez stated matter-of-factly. We could have done this at any time during the past month. We chose to wait. Impossible, Commander Kelvin whispered, her scales pale. Your species was primitive. We watched you for years. Your technology was exactly what we wanted you to see, Chen interrupted. A new hologram appeared, showing the vast underground networks of human cities, the lunar bases hidden on the dark side of the moon, the asteroid belt factories that had been invisible to Vexary sensors. While you watched our surface activities, we were developing technologies that your science hasn't even theorized yet. Your subspace sensors couldn't detect our quantum technology because you never discovered quantum dimensional engineering. You were looking for radio waves while we developed quantum entanglement communication. Zextal's scales rippled with growing horror as more displays appeared, showing the true extent of human advancement. But your weapons were primitive. Your ships were decoys, Rodriguez finished. We kept our real technology hidden because we detected your probe ships 15 years ago. We knew you were watching, so we gave you exactly what you expected to see, a primitive species that would make an easy target. The displays shifted to show human quantum ships emerging from underground bases, their hybrid technology combining stolen Vexary principles with humanity's quantum innovations. Cities rose from the ocean depths, protected by shields that operated on completely different physical principles than anything the Vexary had encountered. Your invasion wasn't just expected, Chen explained. It was required for our emergence strategy. We needed to demonstrate our capabilities in a way that would ensure the Vexary Empire, and all other spacefaring races, would understand humanity's true position in the galactic community. You used us, Zextal realized, his scales showing deep embarrassment. You let us launch an invasion just to prove a point? We let you make an attempt, Rodriguez corrected. Your empire's known tendency to underestimate primitive species made you the perfect candidates for this demonstration. Every step of your invasion plan was predicted by our quantum AI systems years ago. New holograms appeared, showing the quantum computers that had modeled this exact scenario countless times. The Vexary officers watched in stunned silence as displays showed how humanity had prepared multiple contingencies for every possible variation of their invasion strategy. But why? Kelvin asked. If you had this technology, why pretend to be primitive? Chen smiled slightly. Because humanity learned something important during our development. True strength isn't about showing power, it's about knowing when to reveal it. We could have announced ourselves to the galaxy years ago, but that would have led to immediate conflict with multiple species. Instead, Rodriguez continued, we chose to develop our technology in secret, appearing harmless while preparing for the inevitable first contact scenario. Your invasion attempt has given us the perfect opportunity to demonstrate our capabilities without appearing as aggressors. Zextal's scales had settled into a deep blue of resignation. What happens now? Now, Chen replied, we negotiate. Humanity is ready to enter the galactic community, but on our terms. Your empire will serve as our intermediary, helping to establish diplomatic relations with other species. In return, we're prepared to share some of our quantum technology developments. And if we refuse? The displays shifted one final time, showing quantum weapons platforms positioned throughout the solar system, their capabilities far beyond anything the Vexery had imagined possible. That would be unwise, Rodriguez stated simply. One last thing, Chen added, as new holograms appeared showing Vexery colony worlds. We've already established hidden observation posts throughout your empire. Just as you watched us, we've been watching you. The difference is, we saw everything you tried to hide. Zextal's scales showed defeat, but also a grudging respect. You are not what we thought you were. No, Chen agreed. We're what we chose to be. A species that understands the true meaning of peace is being strong enough to avoid unnecessary conflict, while being prepared for any aggression. Now, shall we discuss the terms of humanity's official introduction to the galaxy? As the negotiations began, screens throughout the quantum conference room showed humanity's hidden cities returning to the surface, revealing to the watching galaxy exactly what they had missed while dismissing Earth as primitive. The age of human secrecy was over. The age of human emergence had begun. 6 months after the failed Vexery invasion, the galactic landscape had changed dramatically. The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Concordat buzzed with activity as representatives from 100 spacefaring civilizations gathered for an unprecedented session. At the center of attention stood Dr. Sarah Chin and Admiral Zextal, once enemies, now reluctant partners in reshaping galactic politics. The terms of the Human Vexery Accord are clear, Chin addressed the assembled delegates, her voice carrying across the vast chamber. Earth will share certain quantum technology developments with verified peaceful nations, while the Vexery Empire will facilitate our diplomatic integration into the galactic community. Zextal's scales showed a complex pattern of resignation and pride. The past months had taught him much about humility and about the true meaning of strength. The Vexery Empire acknowledges humanity as a peer civilization and vouches for their technological and cultural advancement. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien languages as delegates processed this announcement. The Vexery Empire, known for its technological arrogance, was publicly acknowledging a species that most had dismissed as primitive just months ago. In orbit above Earth, the transformation was even more dramatic. The once hidden human cities had emerged from the oceans and underground, their quantum shields now visible to all. Massive space elevators stretched into the sky, their quantum-reinforced structures defying traditional physics. Ships combining Vexery technology with human innovation patrolled the solar system openly. The age of human secrecy is over, General Rodriguez declared to a joint human Vexery military conference. But our commitment to peace remains unchanged. We developed our technology in secret not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Now we'll use it to ensure stability in our sector of space. Back in New Pacific City, now gleaming proudly above the ocean surface, Dr. Patel worked with a team of Vexery scientists. Their scales showed constant amazement as they studied quantum principles that their civilization had never imagined. Your entire approach to physics was different, a Vexery scientist admitted, his scales showing intellectual excitement. While we mastered subspace technology, you explored quantum dimensions. The possibilities for combining our knowledge are endless, Patel agreed. That's why we chose to reveal ourselves through conflict rather than conquest. Your invasion attempt proved humanity's capabilities without marking us as aggressors. In the Quantum AI Core, Dr. Chin reviewed the latest predictions with Admiral Zextal. His scales had finally learned to stop flickering in surprise at each new revelation of human capability. The other empires are adjusting their strategies, Chin noted, watching the AI's probability matrices shift. The demonstration of our technology has deterred 3 planned invasions of developing worlds. The hunter species are learning caution, Zextal agreed, his scales showing thoughtful blue patterns. If humanity could hide such advancement, perhaps other, primitive species are not what they appear. The holographic displays showed scenes from across the galaxy, Vexery ships now carrying human quantum sensors, joint scientific missions exploring new phenomena, diplomatic exchanges between formerly hostile species. The failed invasion had sparked a renaissance of cooperation and technological exchange. You never needed the Vexery Empire to introduce you to the galactic community, Zextal realized. You could have emerged at any time. True, Chin admitted. But we needed the right moment, and the right story. Your invasion attempt gave us both. Now the galaxy sees humanity not as conquerors or victims, but as peers who chose peace while maintaining strength. In Earth orbit, the Eternal Dominion hung in space alongside human vessels, its hull now modified with quantum technology. The ship that had come to conquer now served as a symbol of cooperation between species. The quantum AI predicts a 96% reduction in aggressive expansion attempts by major powers over the next decade, Chen reported. Species that might have become conquerors are now focusing on defensive technology and diplomatic relations. Because they fear other, primitive species might be hiding similar capabilities, Zextal understood, his scales showing rueful acceptance. Fear is a tool. Rodriguez joined them, reviewing the latest military cooperation protocols. But we prefer respect. The galaxy is learning that true civilization isn't measured by military might or technological display, but by the wisdom to know when to use power and when to hide it. As the sun set over the emerged city of New Pacific, humanity's hidden strength was hidden no longer. But their greatest achievement wasn't in the technology they developed or the invasion they'd thwarted. It was in changing the very nature of galactic politics, proving that peace wasn't the absence of strength, but the wisdom to use it wisely. The Vexari had come to enslave what they thought was a primitive species. Instead, they'd helped unlock a new age of galactic cooperation. And somewhere in the vast database of the quantum AI, a prediction showed a future where the galaxy's species worked together to face challenges far greater than any single civilization could handle alone. Humanity had hidden in plain sight, played the long game, and emerged victorious, not through conquest, but through patience, innovation, and the strength to choose peace while preparing for war. The galaxy would never be the same, and that had been humanity's plan all along.